Oh man. I'll see you guys on Friday. Again, I won't be here tomorrow, but I do have a sub. So y'all have a good day today. And like I said, I'll see you guys on Monday. I mean on Friday. Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. All right, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. We're going to jump in. So, if you want to use that paper version, you can. If you don't want it, that's fine. You don't have to. I print out the paper version so that way you'll be able to follow along a lot faster. But again, it's totally up to you. If you're on Zoom, if you go in today's warm up, you'll be able to click on the link and you can make your own copy. So this is kind of my last class day before you guys have your quiz on Friday. So we're gonna see how it goes. My plan today is to cover all of the causes and especially sectionalism. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on the video, the paper that I gave you. Right now, there should be nobody on their laptop. So if you really want to close it or put it aside or something, that's fine. Because again, I've given you the workbook, worksheet, and so you can just answer on it. All right, here we go.
Huh? What? I'm not on your side. All right. You didn't have to wake me up, you know.
Dear Tim and Moby, most wars are fought against other countries. Why did America fight a civil war against itself? From Sopot. Well, the main cause was slavery, but there were lots of other complicating factors. Historians still argue about how they came together to cause a civil war.
First, let's get the basics out of the way. In 1860 and 1861, 11 southern states seceded. That means they left the United States to make their own country. They called themselves the Confederate States of America, or the Confederacy. The 24 states that stayed with the U.S. were called the Union.
All right, so if you didn't get that already, they already covered the first one. I'm not gonna pause it each time, but I'm just showing you that's what this is. So who got the first, anybody get the first blank? Go ahead, Hamilton, what did it say? It means they left the United States. So this is, by the way, this is why I put in on the little, what is it called, little CC, you can better read the bottom. So if you can't hear it, you can read it. So I'll back up a little bit, but it's that fill in the blank, it goes in the order of the video. If you don't get all of it right now, no biggie. I'm going to post on my YouTube, I'll post a video of this brain pop. So if you miss any parts, no problem, you can go back later on and put it back in. All right, here we go. Let me back up a little bit. Here we go. 1860, 1861, and I'm going to let it play.
In 1861, 11 southern states seceded. That means they left the United States to make their own country. They called themselves the Confederate States of America, or the Confederacy. The 24 states that stayed with the U.S. were called the Union. In April of 1861, Confederate troops fired on Union soldiers at Fort Sumter in South Carolina. The Civil War began. President Abraham Lincoln knew that if he let states secede from the country whenever they wanted, it would set a bad example for the future. Anytime a state didn't like the rules, they could just leave. But that's just what the Confederate States did.
They argued that the Constitution gave states the right to leave whenever they wanted.
The 10th Amendment of the Constitution does give each state the right to make its own laws as long as they don't go against federal law. The North and South disagreed about how powerful those federal laws should be. In 1832, South Carolina almost seceded over this argument in the nullification crisis. South Carolina wanted the right to nullify or cancel a federal tariff that was hurting its economy. Oh, a tariff is basically a tax, usually on trade. Tariffs usually favored northern industry and hurt southern farmers.
There's no doubt that economic differences between the regions contributed to the Civil War. And the entire southern economy depended on slavery.
By the time the U.S. Constitution was adopted in 1787, most of the states north of Delaware had made slavery illegal. They felt that slavery went against everything the United States was all about. From then until the Civil War, slavery divided the North and the South. Free states were especially worried about the Louisiana Purchase lands bought from France in 1803. They didn't want any new states to be pro-slavery. In 1820, northern and southern states agreed to the Missouri Compromise. It basically divided the Louisiana Purchase evenly between slavery and freedom, and it set a balancing rule so that for every free state that joined the Union, a slave state would also join. But in 1854, Southern politicians managed to pass the Kansas-Nebraska Act. It repealed the Compromise of 1820 and said that any new state could be a slave state if it wanted to. The Supreme Court supported the Kansas-Nebraska Act with their infamous Dred Scott decision. Dred Scott was a slave whose owner traveled throughout free states and territories. The court said that even when he traveled to free states, Scott still belonged to his owner. It also said that African Americans could never be U.S. citizens, and that slave owners from the South could keep their slaves if they moved to free states. Yeah, right? This angered abolitionists. Those were people who were actively against slavery. So, there you have it.
Slavery and regional differences increased tensions between the North and South. And it all came to a head in 1860 with the election of President Lincoln. Even before he took office, 7 states had seceded. The other 4 left soon after his inauguration.
Actually, not all the Union states in the Civil War were free states. Delaware, Maryland, Kentucky, Missouri, and what would become West Virginia were pro-slavery but anti-secession. These border states fought with the Union to keep the country together. I know it's a lot of ground to cover, and believe me, there's a lot more detail if you're interested in it. By the way, you're on my side.
All right. So again, like always, I do brain pop because it's a 4.5-minute video. So if you missed it, if you guys will look at the form, you guys will see that there is the reasons. So again, the form is called Causes of the Civil War. I've given you the causes. Here they are. They are succession. Second one is tariffs. Third one is slavery. And the last one is states' rights. So those are the four causes of the Civil War. Okay. Now, saying that, if you have these 4 causes, all of these causes, sectionalism is what I'm going to be going over today, because sectionalism kind of gives this main idea. We'll talk about that here in a second, okay? So, saying that, here's what we got going on. All right. So today, like I said, I'm going to cover sectionalism. So my first part of sectionalism is doing this. I'm going to go over the answers for the sectionalism section, the assignment that you should have done. And so if you want to kind of check yours, then you can do that. And I'm not going to really go through the whole thing. So right now, what I'm doing again, so if you want to have yours up, that's fine. You can have yours up. I'm explaining it. We're done with the brain pop. We're done with like I said, with the little sheet there on the warm up. Again, I will post the video on YouTube. So if there's anything that you missed, you can definitely go back and be able to watch it. Yes, ma'am. What's up? No. The only reason is because you're gonna miss it. I don't want you to miss it. So give me a second. I'll let you go towards the end. All right. All right. Here we go. So Big business in the big city. The idea, everybody, on this is I've tried to put some things in bold. So the big thing here is you have factories. Factories were the main source of economy in the North. And in those factories, they made manufactured goods. So I highlighted manufactured goods because the word manufactured simply means man made it in a factory. All right. And so because of these factories, I added here on my notes, this led to a strong domestic economy. So please make note of that. Write down strong domestic economy. You need to add that to your notes. Now, just a bit, let me just help you out. If I'm telling you to add it to your notes, if somebody tell me why you think I'm telling you to add it to your notes? Anybody know that? I'm just having you write it down for no reason, huh? Because I like to have you guys write stuff down, right? Anybody want to take a guess? Miss Allison, I don't hear you. Allison. It's probably going to be on the quiz. So I'm not going to give you pointless information just to give you information, just to I'm giving you something that normally isn't there. So like the people right now on the Zoom, they get a chance to see this, but the ones who don't come on the Zoom, they missed it. So it's probably a good thing to write it down. All right, so this led to a strong domestic economy. It's led to a strong domestic economy. And so because of this, in closing, in these large cities in the North, we had people moving there, it's growing, it's thriving. They were pro-tariffs. So we talked about the word pro yesterday. Pro means for. So they were for tariffs because it allowed them to be able to have a strong domestic economy. In closing, does anybody know what domestic means? Domestic. Home. So when we talk about domestic violence, that is typically violence that occurs where? At your home or your immediate family. So domestic means home. So when I say strong domestic economy, what is our home country? What country do we live in? United States. So this is a strong, basically saying a strong American economy. But if we lived in Mexico, it would say a strong Mexican economy. It's whatever your home country is. All right. Any questions about the North? Okay. Now, when as you guys are looking, can anybody tell me why I had you guys, why were you guys able to figure out the whole 4-color thing? Why were there 4 colors and how they all kind of tie in together? All right, fine. I'll get to it next. I'm gonna get to it next, and I'll come back to it if I need to. All right. By the way, just so I know some of you guys are new in my class, if you guys don't talk when I'm teaching, like if it's not an interactive thing, if y'all haven't noticed, the reason why I don't do this every day is because if you're going to look at me, then I'm not going to say anything. Teaching does not come from you looking at me. If it does, then all you guys would make straight A's. I just post YouTube videos all day, and we'll be the end of the day, right? You just, I just watch the video. Exactly. What you need me to teach you for? This is not me talking to you. It's not teaching. So it requires you to think about what I'm saying and speak and interact with me. That allows you to actually learn. Cool? So again, I'm making sure I'm saying this. If you guys don't talk, then I don't talk. And I'll post videos all day. All right. Here we go. That goes for you two on Zoom too. That's why y'all got one time a week. Because y'all don't say nothing either. I think y'all keep playing. Man. All right, necessary evil. Here we go. All right, so I know a couple of you guys, a lot of people have been asking me about how the whole if the geography can only be in the top paragraph, or if the policy. So you can kind of tell in this instance, there's a geography one in the second paragraph, and in the first paragraph you actually see some culture up at the top. So just like I said that they had a factory was a big thing with the North. Plantations was a big thing for people in the South. Real quick, does anybody know the opposite of cities? Does anybody know the opposite of cities? Anybody on Zoom? Opposite of cities. Rural areas. So when you're in a city, right, and you drive outside of Houston, what do you see? Farms, ranches, open area, whatever, right? So that's the opposite of a city. Because why? A city has lots of people, roads, crowds, right? So the country or the urban or the rural area is the opposite. Farms are the opposite of cities. Cool? All right, so now that we know this, we look at, it says plantation lifestyle. You guys, we should have learned that plantation is nothing but what? Jonathan, what's a plantation? A plantation, right here. Come on, man, you got it. Come on, confidence. Huh? Yeah, what is it? Yeah. Which is called what do you grow stuff? What is it called? No, where? What do you call it? Yes, crops are what you grow. Where do you grow crops? It is called a farm. Now, I know you know this, but y'all overthink things. It's okay. Here we go. So a plantation is just a large farm, a very large farm, plantation. All right, cool. So here we go. At this farm, it says here in green that we are growing cash crops. They give us some examples of what cash crops are. And then right here, right below there, it goes into kind of like, you see the word here at the bottom, it says agrarian. Agrarian basically means agriculture. So this is agrarian economy. That means agriculture. Agriculture is another word for farming. So how many times have I said the word farming in this last 2 minutes? About 6 times. So when you guys tell me I don't understand how you don't understand. If somebody says one word 6 times, then what do you think you just realize? What's the important word? Farm. So I could say agriculture, farm. I could say plantation, farm. I could say rural, farm. It all means what? Same word, same main idea. Okay, cool. So saying that, we got our rural area. So we got our plantations. We have fertile soil, which is good soil, and we have a long growing season. So this is the geography that allows me to have a farm. Okay. All right. Now, because if you question about where the have and have nots means, it just simply means it was basically, it says fans were either poor or wealthy, meaning there wasn't a middle class. So either you were wealthy, or you have not, which means you were poor, you were not. You know what I'm saying? So if you were living in the South, either you were really rich or you were really poor, very opposite extremes. Okay. All right. And so because of this, they were pro-slavery, because the slaves were the ones who worked on the plantations. The slaves were the ones who grew the cash crops. Slaves did not get paid. That allowed them to get very, very rich, very wealthy. And so because of that reason, they wanted to keep all of their power and wealth. That means they were for slavery. Okay? All right, in closing, I got this big yellow paragraph highlighted in the middle that I skipped over. So let me touch on that real quick. It says in 1860, Southerners blamed tariffs because their agricultural economy was beginning to stall. So then I added a sentence for you. So if you want to write the sentence down, so notice this is the sentence that I'm adding to the notes. It wasn't in there before. It says, I said, failed because it was more difficult to trade crops with foreign countries. So if you're wondering why they didn't like tariffs, why didn't the South like tariffs? It was because it made it more difficult to trade their crops with foreign countries. Because what does tariffs do to foreign countries? It drives the price down or up? Up. So that means when I'm trading my cotton with foreign countries, their things, the tariffs are making their things more expensive. I don't like that. So they're going in the opposite direction. They're going in the opposite direction of the South. I mean, of the North. All right. So now, I'm going to touch on this last section, and then we're going to bring it all together. There were 3 sections. So let me show you I don't know if you guys got a chance, if you Googled what sectionalism is, but it says over here, oh man, it says sectionalism is loyalty to one's own region or section of the country rather than to the country as a whole. Did we talk about the whole hollow thing example yesterday? Okay, so for Zoom, I'm gonna get this quick example. I know you guys already heard it yesterday, but that's fine. So sectionalism simply means this. Aleph ISD is the greater whole. Aleph ISD is the greater good. We're all part of Aleph ISD. Now, Aleph ISD gets money for our test scores. So Holland's test scores are lower than ours, let's say. So Aleph gets the idea that they're going to make you guys go to Saturday school to bring your test scores up because Holland scores are down. Because overall, that will help the entire district. So yesterday, my question to the class was, would you want to go to Saturday school to prove your test scores not because your test scores were bad, but because Holland Middle School's test scores were bad? Because some people say, well, shouldn't they be the ones going to Saturday school? Oh, no, they don't have to go. You guys have to go. Because your scores are going to bring up the scores. If we get your scores even higher, that'll make up for the deficit their scores being low. Right? Don't worry about it. Anyway, the point I'm making is this. At the end of the day, it's what? You wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to do that. Y'all wouldn't want to do that because you care about your own section. You care about Ali Middle School over, even though it would help Aleph, you care more about Ali Middle School and what you got going on more so than you do what? Holland and Aleph. Does that make sense? That is called sectionalism. So look at the picture. We have the North, we have the South, and what's the last section that we have? The West. So here it is. Again, this is not in the reading. I'm adding this to you right now. This is on level 3. So eventually we get to level 3, I'm going to introduce the last section, which is called the West. So it says here, the West had all kinds of people who had migrated from the North and the South. Many of them were looking for a fresh start. So they left the North, they were tired of the North. You have people that were tired of the South, and they left and went out to the West for a fresh start, for a new beginning. And how were they able to do this? The government was offering inexpensive land, cheap land. And they used the Homestead Act of 1862 that basically said you could get the land for free if you lived on it. for a certain amount of time. And they also had mining, the big thing with their big economy. So we got two economic reasons: cheap or free land, and then we have mining for materials. Those were the economic things. Lastly, since they both were from the North and South, they had mixed views about slavery, meaning some of them were what? What's the word we learned when they say for? They were pro-slavery, and then some were what? What's that? What's that? Pro? Anti. So some were pro-slavery, and some were anti-slavery. So you had a mix out there in the West. All right, everybody. So in closing, here's what I was asking you guys about the colors. I was asking if you guys were able to kind of understand why I had you guys, because like, Coach, why couldn't I just highlight it in the same color? Like, why you guys make me go through these 4 different colors? So I'm going to explain that so that way it kind of comes all together. That's pretty much it. Again, we talked about tariffs yesterday. Slavery is pretty obvious. They had slaves. It was really, really bad, but they felt that it was necessary. That's why the paragraph says a necessary what? Evil. They felt like it was necessary for them to make money. If I paid you, would I be able to have enough money? I mean, not have enough money. If I paid you, would I have less money or more money? Less. So I'm not gonna pay you. I'm gonna make you my slave, and I get everybody's paycheck. That works for me. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine if every Walmart employee didn't get paid, and Walmart could keep all that money that they would be paying them? You see the concept there? So in their mind, they were like, "Oh no, I'm not giving up this money." But oh no. Okay. So slavery, tariffs. You also learned about succession. Succession means simply to leave. All right. And so the country was going in 2 different directions. They couldn't compromise. Again, a compromise, talking about an agreement. So if you want to how do you come to a compromise in slavery? Either you are a slave or you are what? Free, right? Either you are forced to stay or you are allowed to leave. How do you make a compromise to that? Let me do this. Let me make an easier example. Gotcha. I got one. Donuts or ice cream. We say ice cream. One group hates chocolate, loves vanilla. The other group hates vanilla, loves chocolate. How you guys gonna make that work? What's that? Let them choose, right? But if we only got one bowl, then we get it's only one. I can only get 1 gallon for the whole class, right? And half the class hates chocolate, won't eat it, only eats vanilla. And the other half of the class, right, loves chocolate, won't eat vanilla. How do I make the whole class happy? I don't want chocolate in mine. I only eat vanilla. No, I don't want that.
Get strawberry?
I can't. I'm allergic. Y'all see what I'm saying? She actually probably had the best idea. But my point is, you see how it's kind of like, I can't really compromise then. We're going in 2 different what? Directions. So that's why, so ultimately, everybody, what I'm trying to get you guys to see, and you did have a good idea, a good solution. The hard part about it, everybody, is this is why the South succeeded and started their own country. Because they was like, well, man, I don't want chocolate. Y'all keep talking about chocolate. We don't want chocolate. We want vanilla. So I'm like, look, y'all get your own ice cream. We'll go ahead and get our own ice cream. See how that work? So they were like, we're just going to leave, make our own country, make our own flag, have our own president. Forget y'all can be our own country. We're going to be our own country. And the North said, no, you can't do that. And the South said, what do you mean I can't do that? I can't leave. And then the North laughed at him and said, it's called slavery, right? You can't get it. Slaves, I can't leave. And the South said, nope. So the Lord said, you can't leave either. No, all right, here we go. All right, last thing. How these colors come into play. So if you look at a chart, the chart on level 3, you will see a chart that looks like this when you finally get to level 3. And by the way, if you guys have not finished level 1, once you finish level 1 and you get an 80 on the quiz, let me know. Or if you get a 72, 70, whatever, let me know. And then I will advance you to level 2. Once you get to level 2, and you can see here, once you get to level 2, you'll automatically get a chance to open up level 3. So let's go to level 3 real quick. Let's see what I'm talking about. So ultimately, what I want you guys to see was this. There is, nope, hold on. Let me go back here, hold on. I put the wrong assignment, yeah, level 3. There we go. Oh, maybe that's level 2. Oh, it is level 2, my bad, I'm lost, level 2. Sorry, it is sectionalism, here we go. All right, so on level 2, you will see this little picture. And so what I'm trying to show you guys is that geography ultimately leads to how you make your money, which ultimately leads to your culture. So your geography controls everything. So what that simply means is this. If I live somewhere where it's cold, am I gonna be a farmer? If I live by a beach, if I live near water, what is my profession likely? If I live on the beach, I'm probably gonna be a fisherman. If I live in a jungle, I'm gonna eat fish? Probably not. Unless there's a river that goes to the jungle, right? But probably not, right? So you guys, what I'm saying is your geography controls what? Everything about your life. If you are an Eskimo, it's because where you live, it is cold. Make sense? So your geography is always where it starts. So because the geography in the South was farming and the geography in the North was not farming, then they had two different types of lifestyles. That means how they make their money was different. That means how their culture was different, which means their laws and their government was going to be what? Different. So think about it like this. Everybody wants to say they hate Donald Trump. You would think everybody hates Donald Trump. 70 million people voted for him. 70 million people. So what does that tell you? I mean, there's a lot of people who you thinking like, oh, everybody hates Donald Trump. You're like, nah, I don't know.
I bet none of those were Mexican.
Well, you're right. They weren't Mexican, but some of them were Hispanic. That's true. Good point. Y'all do realize that some of them were Hispanic, right? Y'all heard about that in Miami? Okay, cool. All right. So all I'm trying to tell you guys is that's what I mean by people going the opposite direction. Because it's something about their economy, it's something about their culture that makes you go, oh. By the way, who just said that about the Mexican? That was good. Who was that?
Hey, Luis Roman.
All right. Luis, I love that comment. Because watch this. He said none of them were Mexican. And he's probably like 100%, not 100% correct. He's probably like 98, 97% correct, right? So what does that tell you then? We're looking at our diagram right here. Look at that arrow. That arrow is pointing from culture, and the politics is pointing back to the pink is pointing back to the orange. That's basically what Luis just said. Because my orange is Mexican, my pink is going to look like this. Because your pink is always going to go back to your culture. Your laws, your government is always going to look like what your culture is. Because your culture is how you live. So if you like, having free rights, then you're probably going to say abortion is cool. If you are in your culture, if religion is very important, then you're probably going to say your laws are probably going to say no abortion, no divorce. See? So your culture, how you live, your laws are always going to look back and go, and they're always going to be that. That's kind of what I'm trying to show you guys. So in the diagram, all I'm trying to show you, so when I'm asking you guys about writing a paragraph about the culture in the city, I can say, hey, look, guys, it was crowded, it was cold, people caught disease spread very quickly, people worked long hours, little pay, and they rode on the railroads. And I go down here and I go, oh, it was no cities, it was farms. People rode on a steamboat. You had a lot of rich people and a lot of what? Poor people. See? So you can kind of tell how their life was like based on their culture and their laws. All right. So I'm done. Again, we got a quiz over sectionalism, which simply just means, succession, which just simply means to what? What does it mean in one word on the board? Succeed, to lead, the little red arrow. So succession simply means to leave, right? We know that tariffs was a reason, the taxes. We know that slavery was a reason. And then the last reason you guys are going to learn about in 8th grade, which is called states' rights. I'm not going to emphasize that in 7th grade, but you'll learn a lot more about it in 8th grade. This is going to be in your STAR test next year. So if you're wondering why I'm covering so much stuff, because I'm getting you ready for next year. You don't have a STAR this year, but if you can understand this much this year, then that's less you got to worry about and stress over next year. You're like, oh yeah, I already got that. That's easy, right? So imagine how math class is. When you already understand something in math, and teacher's talking about it, you go, oh yeah, I get that part. That's what I'm trying to do for you guys, because you guys haven't had social studies, right? So I'm trying to get to where you kind of understand something, so next year you don't have to learn everything. Cool? All right, any questions about sectionalism? Any questions about any of the causes? Tomorrow, I will not have a sub-assignment. The sub-assignment is going to be work on your stuff. I'm going to open up level. Actually, I know I said earlier about making the 80. Tell you what, let's make it open. Just being totally cool about it. I'm going to open up the levels 2 and level 3. So that way you get all of them done. For your grades go in next week. If you finish level 1 with an A, meaning if you got an A on the quiz, an 80, if you get an 80 on the quiz, you will get an A for the other grade for finishing the levels, and then you'll get a B because you got to have an 80 or above on the quiz. So just by finishing level 1, you'll have an A and at least an A and a B in my class for your grades. Level 2, the same thing. If you finish level 2, you get another A, and then if you finish the quiz from level 2, 80 or above, you get another B. So just by finishing levels 1 and 2, before you even get to the quiz on Friday, you should have at least a what average in my classes? At least a B average. Make sense? Because you would have had 2 A's for finishing both levels, and you'd have had 2 B's for getting an 80 or above on both what? On both quizzes. There's no way you can fail. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. As long as you're working with me, and you're talking, you're not going to fail. I got you. My class is not designed for you to fail. It's designed to push you, but not designed to fail you. Okay? All right. Zoom, y'all have any questions? Y'all good? I'm going to clean y'all this. Y'all start packing y'all stuff up, and then I'll come by and spray y'all down. Zoom, how y'all feeling? Any questions?
Good.
Any questions? All right, cool. I'm glad everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's family's doing well. Everybody's doing well. Um, if y'all do have any questions, I said tomorrow I'm out, but normally, I said normally I'm here for during my office hours for Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that's probably the best time to try to hit me. But other than that, yeah, you guys have a great afternoon. Tomorrow, like I said, to finish up your levels, and then your quiz will be on Friday. So, come on, for y'all. I need to grab a paper. All you're doing is you're literally just putting all the work you've already done. You're putting those words inside where they go. So basically, I know I have to get in, I was doing all the work spots, like kind of redundant. Guys, I need y'all to get a paper towel. Hamilton, you're literally putting like all the blue words here for the north, all the blue words here for the south, all the all the green words here for the economy, all the green words for south. And you just copying and pasting the words you already highlighted. All right. Oh. Same level,